Hello, everybody. All right. Huh. Hey, Rick.
Hello.
I was running a little late today because we were having some technical issues at the house, so that's why I was running a little late there.
No problem. I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Well, you notice I didn't get my invite out to you until
Later today, yeah. A
yeah.
couple hours ago.
Normally I get it out to you pretty early on, so usually in the morning or even at the latest, early afternoon. But I got up late, and then lo and behold, um, okay, lo and behold, we're having technical issues with it,
Ah,
and of course I had to wait on my sister to call them and call the cable company because apparently it was an issue with Frontier. And what it turned out to be is it was an issue um, apparently with our router where they needed to reset the router from their end. So,
lovely.
which could have been the reasons why I was having problems when I went on to Terry's stream yesterday and was trying to hang out with them the
Ah,
and I kept sounding like a robot apparently to them. So
ah,
of course I just checked today and I'm not sounding like and you already liked and shared, right?
yeah.
All right. So we're gonna chit chat here and just wait to see who else shows up. I was just running rampant the last hour and a half here, just trying to get everything set. Just prior to me coming on myself here, and over on Tug Stream, just seeing if he had got my earlier super chat and got my invite for him to come over here, possibly. Um, so we're just waiting around for people to show up. So how was everything for you yesterday?
Good, good.
Yeah,
Had a good
yeah. I
night.
don't know if you want to. I don't know if you wish to elaborate, but I know you said you went to do something yesterday. So,
Yeah, it was a Christian singles event.
uh, okay,
It was good for sure. Uh, Played some volleyball in a gym with a beach ball, so
yeah,
that was unique.
yeah. Well, I don't know if I don't know if you guys have it up there in Canada or not, but we just transitioned down here in the states to daylight savings time.
Yeah, same here.
So now when you see me, I won't have to have my room light on now because right now we got the sun full shining in. So
Yeah, well, not quite here yet, seeing as how it's 8 o'clock.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's right because the sun probably just went down like what an hour ago for you, right?
I guess. I don't know. I don't usually keep track. If
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
out with it, still daylight, fine. If I'm not, eventually it's gonna get to where 9 or somewhere between 9 and 10 o'clock, it'll still be light, where the sun will just still start
yeah.
going down.
Yeah. So hopefully people will show up soon. I sent it out to as I said, I was like rushing through everything. I just barely got this weekend niche history stuff set up right, just a few minutes ago. Um,
Yeah,
then what got all the invites sent out. Then went over to Tug to super chat him to try to promote, and then he wasn't getting around the super chat. And I really had to because I was really strained for time, so I had to just go and then went back to after I got done with everything, which was just like getting to this weekend in each history, and doing the last bit of sharings before coming on here. So um, yeah, so there's a few things that went on this past week, but as I said, I want to give people a chance to show up first before we get into any of the big conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not sure. It's his channel is Tug. Is it channel TUG or is it
no, his
that
channel's
umbrella?
the Umbrella Guy. Everybody just calls him Tug, because
Yeah.
the acronym. But his channel is actually called That Umbrella Guy. He's still go. His show is still going on right now. But I'm hoping that when he's finished, he might pop in here. He did tell me like last week that he would try to drop by sometime before the end of the month here. So I'm hoping he'll be able to keep that. um,
Yeah, I think I used to be subscribed to him. I just resubscribed to him.
yeah. Well, the thing is, he hasn't been really. He's a big part of Comics Game. He was initially covering more comics related stuff. It's just that ever since the whole thing with Amber Heard, it's now more Amber Heard and everything like more mainstream Hollywood, because that's apparently he's just attracting a lot of the looky loos. You know, a lot of
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But you know what I mean by that, right? You know what I mean when I say looky.
yeah, yeah. All the I guess I'd say the people for drama.
Right.
Not that he's doing drama per se, but
Yeah. It's just the drama's coming at him because he's choosing to cover it. You know,
yeah.
so that was kind of the thing there. But yeah, so you had a Christian singles thing yesterday.
Right? Yeah,
Now for your church, like are the singles like in terms of age wise? Because you're about my age, maybe a little older, right? You're late 40s.
yeah.
So are
Uh,
you interacting with other late 40-year-olds, or is it a little bit of a mix of
it's
all age?
people older and a few people younger.
Okay.
So, uh,
Because normally, well, there are probably more of us
eh,
now in
eh,
this time than anything else. But
yeah. And also the ones that go to these events aren't just from my church because it's for the area, if you will.
okay,
You know, it's not just one quote unquote denomination that's coming. It's a lot of evangelical ones. Give you that, but there's people from I think Catholic churches, uh,
so it's not
Baptists.
the event is not necessarily held by a single church. It's more like a group of churches, or
Well,
is it the city that's doing this, or what?
I wouldn't even call it a group of churches. There's a Facebook group called Young at Heart. It started out at People's in Hamilton. Not that you know what that is, and the
Well,
woman
I'm
that
guessing
was
that Peoples would be the name of the church, and then Hamilton is Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
yeah. Um, but the one woman that was leading it unfortunately died. Then a friend of mine took over. Um,
Hmm.
and even before, with the one woman that died where it was held, yes, it was held at People's, but anybody from any church could have came,
Right.
and that's the way it is
It
right now.
started out. It started out as something for a specific church, and then just kind of grew to like multiple churches, multiple denominations. Basically to
Yeah.
where any Christian could partake in it.
Yeah,
Um,
and I wouldn't even say it started out for the one church because I believe the woman that was heading it originally just invited anybody that she knew that was single from any church,
right.
you know.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. Well, give me a sec, Rick. There's something I
Yeah,
need to do real quick. I'll be right back. But if you wanna go ahead, maybe introduce yourself and put your links in or whatever. Go ahead. I'll be right back.
yeah. Hey, people. How are we all today? I hope we are doing good. A link to my campaign that will probably be ending Tuesday. I keep saying it's going to be ending soon. Um, and that's because most likely Monday or Tuesday, I will be getting my books in for my campaign. I've got the proofs in right here. Canadian Shield 2, and Snowdrift 1. So there they are, front, back. So that is Culamundo. Um, what else can I say? Hopefully, we can get some more people here. Oh, you see up here the cover of the Canadian Shield 3.
All right, so let's highlight that so you can see that
Mhm.
for a moment.
Yeah, which is just the link to my campaign, which I keep saying it's going to be ending soon, and it is as soon as I get the comics in, which hopefully will be Monday or Tuesday. And
Get the actual books in to kind of like get them
yeah, that I
distributed.
can give that I have to mail out and then sell because I'm not sure whether you saw, but I do have the proofs in.
Hmm. Well, if you want to show your work again for Rick, you there?
Yeah, I am. Oh, I forgot to.
You just went black.
Yeah, I have a paper over my camera normally.
Okay.
I forgot to take it off right away.
All right. Well,
But yeah, I got Canadian Shield 2 in and Snowdrift #1.
yeah. So anyway, all right. If you want to show, in fact, I'll even do this for you.
And then, of course, we have the alternate cover for Snowdrift #1 as well. The proof, the fan art cover. So, that's neat or great having those in, my two latest comic books, it's almost feel like it's becoming a thing. you know, I went from one to three comic books out. And then I'm going to go from three to six next. I'm
Mhm.
going to double. And then I won't quite double. It'll be from six to 10. Wow. That's going to be a jump. Then from 10 to 15, 15 to 21, 21 to 28. Wow. That's going to be cool when I have 28 comic books out.
Yeah. Wait, that's the thing about running your own company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, that'll be 7 titles with 28 comic books under my belt. Wow. But that's still a bit of a ways off.
Yeah. I, I I'm still listening.
Yeah.
I'm just reviewing some stuff that
Yeah.
possibly talk about. So just kind of remind myself some of the stuff that happened this last week. So some
Yeah.
interesting articles we went over this past week that I'm just kind of just reviewing here. And as I told you the other night too, I'm going to probably start incorporating Bleeding Fool as well a little bit more as well. So
Yeah. And of course, what people see up here now is the Canadian Shield #3 cover done by Chris Tamalovich.
Hmm. Yeah, he was there yesterday. It's just that I kept going off and sounding robotic. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, unfortunately, that happens sometimes.
yeah. But anyways, I'm just reviewing some stuff here. So, anyways, let's see where are we at now on time. Where and of course, just to remind everybody, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, as well as if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here.
Mm, yeah.
Also, if anything that we talk about grabs your attention, of course, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions best of our ability. Okay, so we're just past the 16-minute mark here, so I guess we can kind of get into some other, start getting into some of the topics we're going to look at tonight.
Yeah.
So, Rick, you were my co-host the other night for our for the weekly historical comic retrospect, where we were going over Speed Comics Volume 1, Number 2 from Brookwood Publications, which
Yeah.
was a precursor to Harvey Comics. You want to, well, I guess it would be more of the replay audience than anything else. You
Uh,
want to give everybody kind of your impressions on what we read and what we talked about and all that?
oh, well, good comics as usual. Um, again, for the stuff of the day, some of the stories had a little bit to desired, big plot holes that you can drive trucks through, but it is what it is. Heck, even some of the stuff today, I think is probably that.
Yeah, it's still probably better than some of the stuff today, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. Critical says, I'm listening. I'm packing. Are you packing heat?
uh, well, hey, RJ, if and when you have some time, why don't you join us? Because I'm sure you can contribute. Because there's stuff, of course, obviously, want to ask you about with some of the recent stuff going on with Mike Barron, his lawsuit, and some of the
Yeah,
recent that came up from crowdfunder. So I'd like to see,
yeah,
we can get a report from you on that. See what you can tell us. Um,
yeah. There's another big thing with the whole Mike Barron thing because of it. A lot of people are starting to hear about the crowdfunding site Fund My Comic.
right, that's
Wh-
what's been being pushed lately, and I want to see if we can get RJ on because I know I sent. Granted, I know I sent you the link a little late today, RJ, but that's because we were having issues here at my house with
uh,
the internet, so that's why you got it
and
later than usual. Uh,
RJ is even supposed to be an admin on that site too, so that's pretty cool. You know, not that he
oh,
knows
from my
everything.
comic.
Yeah,
All right,
I
that's
was
cool.
not that he knows that everything that's going on there, because that is Luke Stone
Yeah, well,
baby.
RJ with all that going on, not just Fun My Comic, but the Mike Barron stuff too. RJ's kind of our inside man on that.
Yeah. Well, I think he just does the interviewing and he talks to, people like Pops and
Hmm.
probably Chris a bit. Other than that, probably knows about as much as maybe just a little bit more than us to what's going on. Some we can say, some we can't probably.
Yeah, I
Uh,
get that. It still would be nice to have him on to
yeah,
hear what he can tell us, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah. So well, some of the stuff I was remembering some of the stuff I was remembering you talk about when you were talking about the plot holes. Still, like one of the points had pointed out was,
yeah,
well, if she's not saying anything yet, why is he taking her by the hand? And then we noticed that over the next couple panels, we saw that, as I had suggested, it looked like he kind of pulled her into him to carry her,
yeah.
you know, and that was from the Shock Gibson story. Um,
Yeah, look at first like he's running ahead of her and he has no idea where he's going. He's still leading a little bit as he's flying through the air. She could tell him, go here, go there, I guess. And I think something like that, it would have been good to have her hand out pointing
Hmm.
and say, "Oh, over this way," because he's
Yeah,
still in a
but as
sense.
we saw as we saw over the first over the two or three panels there, he did look like he was actually leading her, but then it was more like he was pulling her, pulling
Yeah, but
her
even
into him.
but even once he's into the air and with her next to him, he still has no idea where he's going.
Hmm.
Without her telling him.
Hmm.
But hey, it's comics back then.
Yeah. Actually, one of the other things I was thinking about today, as I was, thinking about like what we'd be talking about, was like the Spike Marlin story, where the captain was accusing him of piracy, and then when he got it up in front of the judge, basically told him, yeah, Captain, let me introduce you to this guy. This is Spike Marlin of Navy Intelligence.
Yeah,
You know, and he kind of go,
he,
what? And then he goes, I've been waiting to do this for all day. So grabs him by the nose and just pulls him in.
yeah. Even that, like I don't think any judge. I'm not sure what a judge would do back then or today because he only took over the ship, if you will, to not really do anything but capture some criminals.
Mhm.
So I guess in the strictest sense, it might have been piracy, but it's not like he was trying to go out and rob other ships and all that.
Yeah.
So or so yeah, maybe it was piracy, but it wasn't. I don't know what a judge would do, but I would think they would like, listen, buddy, he helped capture some help helped you capture some criminals because you weren't willing to do it. He made you do the right thing.
Mhm. And I thank everybody for the likes and the shares thus
Yeah,
far. Hopefully we can get some more people on here soon. Anyways,
but you know, I guess I'm more talking what I might have done. Well, not I'm not talking more talking about what the law might be or might not be. I don't know. Other people might know the laws of piracy on the high seas, the real high seas,
well, I
whether
think
caps.
when Terry came on, he seemed to know a bit more about like ship etiquette and all that. When he was talking to us in the chat there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
there was the one where that guy got pulled along and he should have been really torn up,
Hmm.
and his things. And Terry, he was like, um, well, it would be unbecoming of him to be like all torn up. Well,
Yeah.
he can't help that he got all torn up by, the underside of a boat, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Hey, Metal, how are you? We got
Hey
Metal in this.
Tommy, I know I sent you the link. I know it came a little later, but we were having technical issues at my house here. But hey, feel free to pop in if you'd like and get in on the conversation. I know I sent you the link, so um, yeah. I mean, there were a few things. There are a few things we could like. Well, of course, we were talking a little bit about the Mike Barron stuff, and again, I'm just
Yeah,
waiting to see if RJ will join us before we get too deep into that. There are a couple other interesting stories I touched upon this last week that a little bit more anime related. One of them is about once again how the Western localizers are kind of putting in their own kind of putting things their own little twist on things. It's okay. I can't really hop on tonight. It's a bit busy over here. I'll have to just stay in the chat when I can. All right. Well, and if anything we talk about catches your attention, feel free to comment and ask questions. So let's see. Yeah, one of the things was again the so in I guess it was in one of the books for that Viz is doing. Viz Media is doing the manga. They once again were. Let me go find that real quick here. I'm gonna.
Well, hopefully, speaking of manga, hopefully next week on the draw along, um, I will actually have my first page to my one manga done. I guess I'm just gonna call it Piper. I gotta do a cover page for it, or at least for the
Actually, a
webtoons.
couple of these stories this last week took me longer than I thought they. Like when I was reporting on the Mike Barron article from Bleeding Full, that took me longer than I thought. That's why I ended up going up near 2 hours that day,
Yeah,
and then I'm just kind of reminding myself here. That's a little bit. Oh yeah, Viz Media English localizers forced mansplaining reference into latest Twin Star Exorcist chapter. That was the article I kind of went over a bit, and that was like kind of considered uncalled for, but that was one, and then there was another one, and don't know if we'll get into too much of it here because one of the other articles that I covered that was kind of a bit more controversial was one in regards to what they called a Mori drawing. And Chuck Dixon was apparently acting because I did report on another thing from the other day with him as well. But let's see. Let's see. Let's see. That was that. And one of the other things I think the Japanese Amori fan artist issued warning about Western shippers. Basically, this is another case where somebody went after a fan artist because
yeah.
they were drawing something that apparently the person making the complaint was saying was CP, and it was anything but CP.
CP meaning
Uh, something that most people that people know is very illegal, and most people would say is
oh, okay, okay, yeah. I get it now.
yeah. I'll even but based on what I saw in the pictures here, it was anything but. So let me just. I'm not gonna. Obviously, I read this article on my stream earlier this
Yeah,
week, so we're not gonna go back and reread it. But I just want to show you. I just want to show you some of this stuff, and then I want you. I want so. Um, I'll read the headline here. Japanese Amori fan artist issued warning about Western shippers after being harassed over relationship headcanons. The word quote the word pro shipper has been weaponized by racists to target artists whose main English is
main
um,
language.
not English. Yeah. Now, mind you, now, Rick, do you know what they mean by pro shipper here?
Oh, not exactly.
They've been around the anime industry for quite a bit. These are fans who, like, who,
Oh, yeah, I get it now. Put different characters into relationships that aren't
right,
necessarily in there.
yeah. There are some
Shippers are
popular ones from My Hero Academia. Now, basically, since this person didn't like a particular, I guess, supposed ship that this artist was drawing, they then started accusing them of doing CP. So I'm gonna show you some of this fan art. Okay, you
yeah.
tell me if this. You tell me if you really think there's anything sexual about any of this. Okay, I want to show you these. I want you to tell me if you think there's anything sexual whatsoever about any of these pictures I'm going to show you. But before we get into it, shippers are literally the worst, according to Metal here. I've been at war with them since the late '90s. Oh well, this what we're about to look at here, Tommy, what should be somewhat familiar to you then, um, as we're getting ready to go over it. But you can chime in too in the chat as well. You guys tell me if any of these pictures here, if you think any, I want you guys to tell me if one you think whether or not they are sexual at all. First off, and two, I want your impressions on what these pictures, these drawings, this artwork. I want your impressions on what you think this artwork is. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna scroll down. I'm gonna show you some of this stuff. So, you think there's anything? You think there's anything sexual in that?
No. Not that one is well, it's obviously it's showing, these two people are most likely in love or seem to be in love, with the string and the heart and all that, but other
But
than
you know,
that,
they call that the string of fate. You know that, right?
yeah.
So, but um,
But
yeah, but
definitely nothing sexual about that.
there's probably some kind
Romantic?
of
Yes. Sexual? No.
all right. Now here, I guess, and then this is just somebody drawing the thing of the shipping wars defined in Kaguya-sama, Love as War. Kaguya-sama is a popular manga anime, but that's not. So here's another piece of again anything really sexual
Well,
there,
again, romantic, nothing sexual.
right? Nothing that would. What about that?
Romantic, maybe minutely you could see something, especially with where his one arm is, but I would probably go
But
lean probably not.
nothing that again, it would be more cutesy, romantic, which this artist has basically said. When she's drawing this stuff, it's more cute, romantic. It's not like anything insidious or
Yeah, yeah. And then with them both looking at the book, it's even more so most like nothing,
now.
sexual.
I know some people could say because of how he's got her sitting in lap, that could be somewhat considered suggestive, but
Yeah. The,
that'd still be kind of a stretch.
yeah.
The only people who I think the only
It would be
people,
less of a stretch than the other ones, though.
yeah, yeah. But I think in this case, you know, I think only the most perverse of minds would think that's still, I think, closer to being more romantic or cute than,
Yeah.
than really sexual or.
We got Metal saying some shippers will literally send creators death threats if characters other than end with
Right.
romantic partners other than the ship they subscribe to, which is stupid.
Yeah, and I've heard of that too. Metal, Tommy.
Yeah.
I've heard that too. Where I've seen that. Well, what of course what this artist had pointed out was, you know, it's best just to try to ignore these people, just like block them and what have you. You know, they claim over in
Uh,
Japan. Now look at this. Look at this. Now here's something even cute. Like, look there.
oh
She's got
yeah,
her own
this is
her own little guy doll there, dressed in PJs.
yeah, like any girl would have something like almost any girl would have something like that, you know.
And look at that, vice versa here, right?
Again, it's just romantic at best
Cutesy,
or
and then
at worst.
here they're donning cat ears. Again, Oh wait, okay. So here's one of the key things here. So this is one of our responses to something that he that her critic had told her. Quote: I can write whatever I want on my profile. Because this is her responding to let's see, Moromi is the name of the artist, but let's see for context here. Let me go back. Okay, so for context, I'm going to read this portion of the article
Yeah.
just for so you guys get the context of what the conversation is about here. So this is so Moromi's the artist who has done this artwork, and
Yeah.
his criticism is based on the artwork that we've been looking at here. Okay, so here's basically the crust of the conversation here. Um, so this is her critic as she lists him as A. So quote: So you think it's okay to sexualize children? This is what A is asking Moromi the artist. Okay, quote: In that case, can you write that in your profile so people who aren't okay with that can avoid interacting with you? So he's suggesting that she should, in essence, what he's basically saying is that she should sit there and put a scarlet letter on herself because
Yeah, for no reason.
yeah,
Because
except for what
first of all,
it said. Oh, go
these
ahead.
these characters look to be in their teens, and they're
Mhm.
being romantic. They're not kids being romantic, and they're definitely not being sexualized.
Yeah,
Well, if you do romantic, maybe you could use that term, but that's really pushing the term
yeah.
because
Now here's one of her responses to it. Quote: I personally prefer adults in my porn, but in Japan, fictional works have freedom of expression. Unquote. Shot back Maromi. Now again, and this is where the conversation can get kind of controversial because this is one of
yeah,
the points. This is one of the points where I was making
yeah,
when I was covering this earlier this week was the cultural differences between Western society and the rest of society
yeah,
because you know not that we need to get into a huge. I think
yeah,
you may have heard me talk about this before, but I think in some cases these are we need to have more of these kind of conversations because
yeah,
in the world of niche we're seeing this in certain areas where it does need to be talked about, but there's a lot of parents out there that don't want to talk about this because the whole idea of envisioning their offspring. And it doesn't matter. Their offspring could be particularly when it comes to daughters, fathers and daughters, right? You know, the daughter could be a 92-year-old woman married to a 94-year-old man, and the father is going to still think of her as his little girl. So,
yeah.
you know,
Metal says when they complain that something like that is sexualizing children, it's usually probably projection.
yeah, but yeah, and I get that, but here's the thing that there are cultural and legal differences in this, and the thing is that I have often advocated that we need to be talking about this stuff because here's one of the things. Here's one of my big arguments. And Metal, I know you probably been to a few anime and or gaming conventions before, so you could probably attest to this as well. I've been to my fair share. But now when you're looking at when you go if you've ever gone to conventions, right? So when we're talking about like when you go into like niche conventions, whether it's anime conventions, gaming conventions, cosplay conventions, comic and all that. So we know that probably when you look at the target demographic or the main demographic that attends some of these cons. Now we know with maybe like toys, with cartoon, particularly classic cartoons, classic television, and even sci-fi, the demographic that attends those tends to be a little bit older, 30s,
Yeah,
40s, 50s, But when it comes
yeah,
to when it comes to like the anime, gaming, and cosplay conventions, the demographic that primarily attends those is between 15 and 25, basically high
Yeah.
school through young adult. And you do
Yeah.
have a lot of interaction between, high schoolers and young adults. And sometimes, yes, as time goes on, as sometimes relationship, not necessarily saying or advocating that adults, no matter the age, should be trying to pursue relationships with people who are deemed underage. However, it still does happen.
Eh,
Now, Metal saying here, I'd say for anime and gaming cons, it's probably like 15 to 35. Yeah, but basically my point there is, Metal, that you have people who by Western standards, you have people who are classified as minors interacting with people who are classified as adults who
Yeah.
socializing. Now, they come together for a common interest, but they're still interacting with each other. And through the course of time, there is that possibility that, yes, maybe a 15, 16, 17-year-old, maybe they may become friendly and start to develop a relationship with a 20 to 25-year-old. It's happened. Not saying that it should happen, but it's one of those things where but over, like, and as we talked about with the whole age of consent issue before, even here in the states, there's no real there is a federal thing of 18, right?
Yeah.
But in the different states, it's been anywhere between 16 and 18, and in some parts of the world, it's been as young without restrictions. It's been as young as 15 with restrictions, like age restrictions or whatever. It's been as young as 13. People, though, don't like to acknowledge that, but it is what it is. So if let's say, like, if you guys remember a couple months, and I'll get to Metal's comments in a moment here, but I just want to try to finish what I was saying. You remember about a month ago when James was last here, one of the points he made is over in Japan, the legal age of consent to get married was 16. Now here in the West, we would say, oh no, that's CP. That you have segments of the population that would say, oh no, that's CP. That's that. But in
Yeah.
Japan, the whole idea of age of consent is that you're legally deemed old enough and mature
Yeah.
enough to be able to make that decision. That's but
Yeah.
and we have to be careful. We in Now, granted, not that I'm trying to get into
Uh,
a big conversation about it. Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say, and well, probably back 200 years ago, 100 to 200 years ago, 15 and 16-year-olds were getting married in, like Canada and the States. And
Oh,
then,
you're not going to believe this because I actually did some research on this. Back in colonial times, in Rhode Island, you know how old the age of consent in Rhode Island was during colonial times?
what,
It's going to probably
13?
blow your mind. Huh?
13?
Try younger.
11?
Try younger.
10?
Younger.
Oh, well, I don't want to go younger.
7.
Wow.
During colonial times in Rhode Island, age of consent was 7 years old.
Wow.
Now,
Uh,
some people would make the argument due to the fact that you didn't have people living as long back then. That's
well,
one argument people could make. But again, we're not even. I'm just stating a fact. I'm not basically
yeah.
in
You're
today's
not
world.
condoning it. You're not
I'm not
condoning it.
condoning it. I'm just stating the fact. I'm not condoning it. I'm not advocating it. I'm just stating the fact. But let me get caught up on some of Metal's comments here because we got kind of. So if they are older than 35, it's usually a parent, taking the. Yeah, that is true. You're saying older than 30, but some older than 35, it's true. But what I'm talking about is, I'm talking more, as I said, 15 to 25 was more my number because you do have, And sometimes, like when I went, I was like late 20s, early 30s too. When I was going more regularly to cons, and
Yeah, but
yeah, I was
he's
interacting with 15, 16, 17 year olds.
yeah,
You know,
he's just qualifying that with his statement beforehand about 15 to 35 ish for the anime and the gamers. You know,
yeah. Yeah, in Japan, a 16-year-old is basically already, yeah, because I mean, culturally, I mean, there are other signs we can point to that show that culturally, um, older than 15 is considered an adult, because I know that from what I've read, compulsory education ends at 15, whereas here it ends at 18, you know, where basically you have to be in school up until a certain age. That's what compulsory education is. But yeah, people are graduating high school at 16, 17. Well, from what I understand, the way that the Japanese education system works is that compulsory education is up through 15. And then once they hit 15, because that's finishing up, that's usually graduating middle school at that point or junior high. And then they have the option. This is where partly the
15 would be about
term NEET
grade
comes
10
from.
here.
This is partly where the term NEET comes from, not in education, employment, or training, because once you hit 15, you have the option. You can continue your education, you continue your academic road, and go to high school and eventually college, or you can go out into the workforce. Oh, or you can go do like some kind of vocational training, like nursing or some kind of like industrial art education. You can start doing that as early as 15, 16 in Japan.
Yeah.
You know, so let's see what else. 16 is the legal age of consent in more Western countries than not. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yet here in the states, you remind people that here in the states, I think 16. It's like 30, 31 states in the District of Columbia where the age of consent 16. It's only like
Yeah.
11 or 12 that it's 18, and it's state by individual, and then the 7 for 17.
I
Okay, so
know in Canada, I think it used to be 14. We've just recently moved it up to 16.
yeah. Well, I remember a YouTuber over in England named SSG Sammy. He even told us that over there, I think over there that it's like 16 as well. I remember. Well, that's another guy I met when I first got. But again, this is the kind of conversation though overall that obviously us as laymen shouldn't be, because people hear what some of the stuff we're saying, they would think, oh, we must be advocating for underage, and that's not what we're doing. We're just pointing out, but the point I always make about it is, well, by those sensibilities that people claim to be, that does that mean that, well, since Japan, their age of consent 16, does that mean in their opinion that Japanese people, or all Japanese people, are in their minds the P word? You know, like I even
Yeah.
asked my older sister that when I pointed out to her, and she goes, "Yeah." Culture, and that's not. And it's funny because they talk about being tolerant of other cultures, right? They say that, oh, we should be tolerant of everybody else's culture, we should be tolerant of this, and yet that doesn't sound very tolerant to me of another culture where the culture and legal standards are different from ours.
Yeah.
But anyways, to finish Metal's comments here, even in the past, when people got married young, that was mostly to secure the future. For most of human history, women didn't often have children before 14, 16 being more the average.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was not physically, it was not necessarily, well, it was physically possible, but you would have had more problems doing it younger, because you hadn't gone women obviously hadn't gone fully through by the time you're 16, 17, you've pretty much been through puberty. You're already starting to develop into a young woman. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know, if I mean, you look back to you look to Little House on the Prairie, even though Charles Ingalls and that had often, he said that Laura, you can't really get married, because Laura fell in love with Almanza Wilder, who was already an adult, and well,
Yeah.
you guys can't really get married until you're 18. So, but you also saw that too, where a lot of 16-year-old, even when Mary was 16, she was already going out and getting teaching jobs and all that. You know,
Yeah.
so the whole
Yeah.
definition of what an adult is changes over time. Let's see. High school. Tommy's pointing out here. High school is only 3 years in Japan, and not everyone starts at the same age. Um, that's why I said some people didn't graduate until 19. Yeah. Well, yeah, because unlike here in the state, as I understand it, Tommy, as I understand it, like here in the states, compulsory education is up to 18. In other words, you basically have to be in school. I mean, yes, you could hold down a part-time job, or I don't know if that's still the case, and I think they're even more stringent on that as to whether or not you can. Like, obviously, when we were all in school, if we wanted to hold down a part-time job as we were going to school, like if we wanted to work at a fast food joint or do a paper route or what have you, we could do that. We could do that. But I'm not even sure if that's even the case as much now. But then again,
Well, newspaper, most kids
that's
can't
not
do it.
even that's not even looked at as a good thing.
Say newspapers. Most kids can't do newspaper route nowadays because it's in the middle of the night that they're being delivered.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 in the morning.
I,
The other
again,
thing,
I'm just giving a comparison between
yeah,
like when we grew up to
yeah,
now, and I'm
yeah,
just pointing out that societal change there.
yeah. Well, heck, when I was in my early, teens, or 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there, I had a paper route, right, in the
Mhm.
afternoon. And then, like 20 years later, you know, uh, the same paper, oh, adults are doing it at night,
Right. Well, I mean,
middle of the night.
yeah, I mean, the paper route is usually the more classic example because that's always
Yeah,
been there. But other things like babysitting,
yeah.
you know,
Usually that's
like mowing the
associated with
lawn,
teenage
like
girls.
mowing lawns, like
Yeah,
selling lemonade, selling. Now, granted, selling like lemonade and Girl Scout cookies that's usually done through the Scouts, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
yeah. And the only other thing I'd say for the age thing too is, you go back even further than a couple hundred years, and you had it around 13 and 14. Around biblical times, you'd have, more Jesus biblical times because, you know, you go back to probably, um, you know, Genesis. Women weren't having babies till they were much older, I would say.
Well,
But
we do know the story of Abraham and Sarah, right?
yeah, well, yeah, they were much older, and but no,
Well, that was a special case, though. That was a special case.
yeah, but I even think, when you hear somebody was so much somewhat of age, like in the early parts of Genesis before Abraham,
Mm-hmm.
like before the flood, such and such was, 120 and he begat thing. Well, his wife had to have been around that age too,
Mm-hmm.
because would have been his sister or niece or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
back then. But
Yeah, but
again,
basically, as I said, we
as
need
you
to
get
have
to
these
Jesus,
I think as a society, we need to have these conversations a little bit more and be more honest and open
yeah,
about what we're talking about because it's like different cultures do have different, they have different what they believe an adult or what they believe constitutes somebody being mature enough to make certain decisions varies from society to society.
yeah,
I mean, even in Hispanic cultures, even though it's more ceremonial now than anything else, but you notice in a lot of Hispanic cultures, particularly in Mexican cultures, there's a big deal made about a girl turning 15, the quinceañera, right?
I didn't know that.
Which traditionally marks when a girl turns 15, and by at least their own cultural standards, at that point they're a woman.
Yeah.
Even though nowadays it's more ceremonial than really anything else, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just the thing. But anyways, getting back to the article here, a
Yeah.
little bit, just to kind of but basically the point is he was saying that he is basically trying to get her to, in essence, put a scarlet letter on herself, to tell everybody that, oh yeah, she's into doing this kind of thing, just simply because she draws something that he himself believes is child porn.
Sexual, which isn't sexual at all.
All right.
And a pro shipper, well, does he do this on a regular basis? Put characters together? I doubt it. It's probably just this one time that he did these few drawings.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because I didn't know if you were asking yourself, but you saw something in the chat there. Because,
No,
but
no, I'm just
anyway,
going based on what I've read on the screen and all that.
so so I guess this is A's response to what she had said about freedom of expression and stuff like that. A's response to her. So, quote, "That's too bad. In English, we call people like you pro shippers."
No,
Um,
not in English. You morons call people like that pro shippers.
well, yeah, but and basically for him, for I guess this person is using the term pro shipper as a code word for another P word. Um, A screeched in return before demanding, quote, "To avoid trouble, please write in your profile that you are a pro shipper." which her response has thus far been, "Up yours, dude." Right?
Yeah, yeah, but pro shipper says, pro meaning professional person that ships different characters together. Well, does this person do this on a regular basis? Who knows? Or
I
was
don't
he
know,
just
but
inspired to do these few images?
so here's another thing to read over here. So at this point in the conversation, Moroni knew this discussion was not going anywhere, and decided to put what well I think she meant to say put, or whoever wrote this, put a swift end to this. So you put the word what, put a swift end to their entire back and forth. Quote, "I can write whatever I want on my profile." Um, Basically tell him where to go stick it. She ultimately declared to her critic, quote, "Let's just block each other so that we can avoid any interaction in Japan. We can avoid any interaction. In Japan, we call this self-defense. That's all I have to say. Take care." In other words, she's basically just telling him, "Hey, look, don't interact with me. I won't interact with you. And we should be fine." But as would later be pointed out in the article, he didn't let it end there. He basically would go on to like other people's sites, other people's Twitters, and basically argue, "Oh, look, this person's this person's that." Now, this picture right here, some people might argue that what most anime fans would call fan service, because there is a little, it's not there could be in this particular case some
There's
implied sexuality, but it's still on the cute side. It's not
Yeah,
overt.
and
It's
there's
what is
only three of
referred to
them.
as it's what is
What?
referred to as fan service.
Yeah, there's one where she's standing in the water. Could be a little bit. The one where she's running a little bit. Probably the one where she's standing there and he's looking at her from afar. That's a little bit more. Could be, but he's also
Like
looking at it with
suggestive, but it's
stars
but
and
it's still not like anything outright. Well, yeah. Well, RJ was pointing out here, pro in this case means I am for the concept of shipping. Pro as opposed to anti. Yes,
Yeah,
I knew that. I knew that too, RJ. Um, in this case, what we're
yeah,
of course what we're kind of talking about here was what they're trying to make it sound, or what A was trying to make it sound like. Pro shipper in this case, in the context that he's trying to imply it to be, could be considered like a code word for another P word that we talk about quite a bit. Um,
yeah. And I get where RG's going with that pro, but
yeah,
like I don't care whether somebody wants to ship somebody with another character. Maybe I don't like the shipping that they do together, but oh
but
well.
as Tommy pointed out, as Metal pointed out earlier, there some of these shippers can be real bad. They can, if
Yeah,
you're not accepting of the ship that they want, they can be very nasty and very vile, and they can really take
yeah,
it to such extremes. It's almost like you kind of think that maybe you should just round them all up, put straitjackets on them, and put them in a padded room somewhere.
yeah.
That's how fanatical they can be about their about
That's
these
how
relationships.
obsessed they can be.
Yeah, about how obsessed their head canons can be. Now this one, as I said, and as I point out to everybody, judge for yourself. Are these things really overtly sexual? Are these anywhere near what this guy is claiming them to be, or is this more like this? Obvious, like look here, this is obviously not sexual. This is more cutesy. They're kind of in matching outfits
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Oh
Metal
yeah,
says,
like a yukata and a kimono right there.
yeah,
Again, now that's a pretty cute, stylish thing right there. That's
yeah. Again, romantic, not thing. Metal says, actually, in fandom, the slang pro is short for problematic.
well, yeah, yeah. That's come on in recent years too. Yeah, I get that. And then he follows that up with one who supports a ship or shipping deemed problematic, e.g., due to incest, age difference, abusive dynamics, etc., and or believes in the freedom to create and consume uh, fan works with such elements. Yeah, basically, yeah. But as even Hero Hay is pointing out, a lot this is still drawing. It's still fantasy. These are not real
Yeah.
people.
Well, the abusive dynamics, Joker and Harley Quinn.
Yeah. They choose pro because it can mean both ways.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but yeah, but the point is a lot of what we're talking about here is about just perceptions overall. How
yeah,
people perceive things, but basically, um, and as I said, not that we're trying to read the whole article. We read excerpts of it just to give you guys an idea of the context of the conversation. But for in case Metal or RJ you missed what I just said about it, this guy A would go on later to harass uh, some of Maromi's like friends and fandom on her social, claiming she was this that. Again, here's something that's again nothing real overtly sexual there, aside from maybe where he's got his hands there. But
well, and the fact that his shirt has risen up a bit too, but that happens when you sleep,
yeah,
sometimes.
they're literally sleeping
Grasping
together.
at, yeah,
Yeah, not connotatively sleeping together. They are literally sleeping together. Meaning that they just happen to be sharing, sleeping in the same bed together. Okay,
yeah.
nothing sexual is going on there. But here's another thing, and then she's smiling at him as he's playing with the dolls, playing with the two dolls there.
Well, I don't think she might not even. Well, she could be smiling at him or not. She's seems a little starstruck, but he doesn't. She doesn't even know that he's playing with the dolls. She can't see the dolls. She's just happy to see him.
Yep, that's a good point there, Rick. But So this is one of the things that I think Moromi was talking about. So Moromi, I guess it was stating here, some people advise me to block the person you are following because he or she, oh, he or she is a pro shipper. She elaborated, "quote I do not discriminate against them as long as they are properly because I think in Japan there's some kind of zoning thing. She was, I didn't know what that was. That is a rule in Japan. You know, I think overall, and then here's another response she had. Quote, please understand that if I, as a Japanese, do the same thing as you English speaking people, unquote, Moromi added, quote, I will be treated as a freak who cannot distinguish between reality and fantasy, which is true. We have some of our own English speaking people who make that same point. As I mentioned earlier, Hiro Hain made that same point on several of his videos when he's had to cover this kind of situation. Um, you know, let's see, there,
There are some descriptions in
yeah,
ships that
there are
just
some
like, but I
restrictions,
deal with them.
yeah, but I deal with them by unfollowing or muting them. She reiterated. That is self-defense in Japan. In other words, the Japanese have a much better way of handling this stuff than we do. Okay,
Yeah,
it's almost like I really would if I could I would probably move over to Japan. This being one of the reasons why I'd move over to Japan because in some cases, uh, the at least when it comes to art, Japanese actually are more for freedom of expression than we are here in the states. Um, Okay, so here's another thing. I have explained this to people who continue to harass me, and told them that I myself am not interested in CP. They actually spell it the full word there, but we
yeah.
Moromi emphasized, quote, but they did not understand. Yeah. Quote, I just like Hiromari. That I guess the name of the characters there, Hiromari, and I want to draw a cute Hiromari. Um, they pleaded, quote, I have never looked at them in a sexual way, and I am happy just to see them holding hands. I will never paint Omori. I think Omori is the name of the series actually. I'll never paint Omori NSFW, not
No,
even for commission. I promise you that.
not safe for work.
Right, I get that. And had you not said that, I would have been I would have probably explained that as well. Basically,
Yeah,
Mori I think is the name of the series there, but and I'm not trying to read the whole article because I read the whole article earlier this
yeah,
week and gave my own commentary already on it. But I want to get your obviously I want to bring this up and get your impressions of this kind
yeah.
of because it's kind of just so So this is one of our last responses here. Quote, I know this is a long story, but thank you for reading this far, unquote. Moromi concluded her thread, quote, if you dislike me after listening to this story, feel free to unfollow me and block me. Artists who do not want to be involved in harassing me are also welcome to unfollow me and please take care. So she's basically just saying, hey, look, if you don't like what I do, fine, just
Unfollow or block me. I don't care.
move on with your life. Don't bug me. I mean, whereas here in the states, we have that situation. Oh, we got to cancel this person. We gotta cancel them. We gotta just totally. We
Yeah.
gotta keep them from making money. We gotta take their house away. We gotta throw them out naked in the streets, scarred up, beaten, ripped apart. All that.
Yeah, Metal says Omari is the series. Hero Mari is the name the shippers gave between Hero and Mari.
All right. Okay, Omari is the series. Hiro Mari is the name of the shippers gave between Hiro and Mari. Basically, the idea that they want to ship Hiro and Mari together. That's
Yeah.
So,
They want to see them get in a relationship. And, like, I think we all do this in lots of, cartoon series, even live action series. Like, I've been watching Love Boat, and I wanted to see uh, Gopher Gopher get with Julie, but like become a relationship. But they didn't do it. We
mhm.
seen it in Star Trek. We wanted to see, Riker get with Deanna, and different ones like that. Balana and uh, Tom Paris. Some people wanted to see Harry Kim get with 7 and 9, and she got with Chakotay, which I think was a bad shipping, but I dealt
Yeah.
with it.
But you may not have liked the shipping, but you didn't sit there and go out and start harassing the writers of Star Trek or Jerry Ryan or Robert Beltran or Garrett Wang just
Yeah,
because you didn't get the ship you want. You didn't sit there and like, yeah, you writers, you suck. I'm gonna come burn down your house and I'm gonna mutilate you and mutilate your. You didn't do that kind of stupid garbage, did you? Right?
yeah,
Right?
no, right.
These people, that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. Ah, let's see. Metalhead Sun. Ship names is very common for shippers, like Sun Amy for Sonic and
Amy.
Amy. Yeah. Let's see. And then RJ's pointing out here they did it in comics forever. Superman and Lois or Superman and Lana. Uh-oh, Lori Lamari. Yes, and I know about Lori Lamari. So for those of you who don't know about Lori Lamari, she was a love interest that Clark had while he was in college. She was basically an
A mermaid.
Atlantean mermaid who Clark fell in love with during his time in college in the Silver Age. Is back in town. How does Clark feel? Oh look, Kryptonian Lila Lerol is visiting. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
and we know that Batman had a number of love interests. You know, so we know quite a few. We've had quite
yeah.
a few people.
And
It's
then of
like,
course, all the love interests of Peter Parker. Everybody, City View with
yeah,
Betty Brant, MJ,
yeah.
Felicia Hardy.
I didn't even know that that was even a possibility until because I remember Betty Brant was probably one of the main female lead in the Spider-Man cartoon of the '60s, the Grant White Lawrence production one.
Yeah.
But it never now maybe because I was a kid when I was watching it, but never really crossed my mind the possibility that Betty Brant and Peter Parker might be a couple. It never even
Well,
crossed my mind.
they did go. We're supposed to go out a couple times in that series too.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's why when I heard,
but then again,
what's
it's a kids show though, so
yeah, there wasn't much to them going out or whatever. He'd end up, having to take off to be Spider Man.
yeah.
Who's the famous one? I forget what her name is. I can't believe it.
Anyways,
That the Goblin killed.
oh, Gwen Stacy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So following the publication of her thread, Moromi would be inundated with support from not just Japanese artists, but also the overwhelming majority of English-speaking Omori fandom. Met with additional supporting information and context regarding the behavior of Western users. Momori um, would later I guess it should be Moromi. They did a typo there. Would later provide Japanese otakus with a direct warning regarding what she deemed the quote unquote American yakuza. Now, isn't that an interesting day for SJWs for this cancel culture crowd? American yakuza.
if,
Rick, you know what a yakuza is, right?
no, not offhand. I've probably been told, but I forget.
Yeah, I've told you before, and I know Metal is probably getting ready to type in right now. Yakuza are the Japanese mafia.
Oh yeah.
Yakuza are the Japanese, just as the triad is the Chinese mafia. So, um, there you go. So, uh, yeah. So yeah. So basically, again, not that I'm trying to read the whole article here. Again, I've already,
Yeah,
um,
there's lots to this one.
yeah.
And
But
just
but let's see this statement. Okay. So quote: the original meaning of the word pro ship was omnivore. Um, TN. I don't know what the TN stands for, but in parentheses, TN, someone who likes almost every ship with few or no squicks and doesn't hate on other people's pairings. In other words, what they're saying is a person is pro ship is just pro ship. Period.
yeah.
You know, no. In other words, someone following obvious common sense.
Yeah.
Unquote.
I guess that would be us.
This is what Moromi had pointed. This is something Moromi had said in Japanese, and when the word pro shipper was coined to mean quote permitting everything in order to keep away those who cannot pass through landmines. The artist detailed quote the antis started labeling pro shipper as CMs, incestuous, abuse tolerant, abnormal, and abuse tolerant free. Now that makes sense because that's a classic Saul Alinsky move right there. You know, if you want to get somebody back down from their argument, look in the mirror, find the worst thing you can think about yourself, then point at the other guy and say, "That's them." You know,
Or
that's
what's the worst thing in society that you can be? This. And
yeah.
actually nowadays that's beginning to be less and less of almost an insult with you know, the drag shows, the kid drag shows.
Yep. It's like and in a way it's kind of hard to point out there, but I just look. So that was basically that article. Not that I was sitting here trying to plan on like reviewing the whole, going over the whole article again, but I just wanted to at least go through those pictures because basically what this guy was saying was that her art was supposedly NSFW, which it clearly was not.
Yeah.
Anybody, as she even pointed out, anybody with any real common sense could see that. You know,
Yeah.
it's only these Looney Tunes who probably need to be straitjacketed and locked in a rubber room somewhere who probably think that.
That don't have a grip on reality.
Right. So, okay, we're at 118 now. So, actually, one of the other things that I noted too was that in an interview, I guess during his show last week or whatever, Chuck Dixon had talked about how he believes woke is not going to go away. Woke is pretty much here to stay. You know, which might be, it just might not have as much influence now because people have just seen how destructive and how divisive it is, and
Yeah,
people are
well,
starting to combat it more, and people are starting to stand up to these woke bullies. You know,
yeah. Well, the thing is, they haven't been called by that, and they've been different people. They've been around in different ways, shapes, and forms for years. You know, back in the early '80s and '70s, it was unfortunately your Christian, a lot of Christians that were doing something similar. You know, into the '90s, where Christian parents, usually the moms, were doing these I'd say boycotts, but probably even worse than boycotts, you know?
well, I mean, go. I mean, in comments, as you know, because we talked about it quite a bit here. In comments, it goes back even further in time. Goes back to
Yeah.
the '40s and '50s, because we talked about how the CCA had came into existence, right?
Yeah.
It
I
was
can't.
it was started a lot based on a lot of parents complaining that and also a study done by Dr. Frederick Worthen and
Or
his
a
book
supposed
Seduction of the
study.
Innocent. Huh?
Or a supposed study.
And his book Seduction of the Innocent that led the comic industry to basically say, before the government comes in and starts censoring us, we should probably censor ourselves.
Yeah. So there's been groups that do this all throughout probably history. Yeah, we can point them out easy enough in the more modern age. Like you said, with comics and with video games,
Mm.
TV, radio, almost every different medium. You know, these people
Well, I mean,
now they're able
one of the
before.
arguments they would sometimes make too is that if you remember the whole thing with the video games when we were kids, or when we were young, teenagers, young adults, they're talking about video games make kids more violent. You know, um, actually, something that the other night we were talking about on RJ's channel. Um, I think it was when they were talking to Luke Stone and stuff about. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what point because it was a kind of a I can't even remember now. Oh well, yeah, I had it for a moment there, but I guess it
Yeah.
just disappeared.
But unfortunately, with the internet, these types of people have gotten way. They had power before a little bit in spots here and there, but they're getting even more power with the internet, and
and with people being able to be more exposed to things, yeah,
it's harder to block them out now than it once was. Before you could just call them the crazy person down the street and ignore them.
yeah,
Most people would, but now.
yeah. Anyways, Rick, I'm gonna need to step away for a moment. So if you want
Yeah,
to if you want to promote your stuff or just engage with the chat for a
yeah.
moment, I'll be right back.
Okie dokie. So out there, anybody else got any more comments, questions, or whatever thoughts on what we've been talking about? Uh, Everybody see me show off my comic books as of yet out there? My new ones? Crickets. It says Critical Blast. Yes, crickets. Is that crickets or critics? No, I know it's crickets. Uh, here, let me show a video capture device. So, Snowdrift number one, the proof copy. And Canadian Shield number two, the proof copy. And the alternate cover for Snowdrift, done by Elric Yuga. Uh, so I'm not sure what else I can say, do. Bring it back. There's the cover for Canadian Shield 3. The cover for Snowdrift number 2. Here's the cover for Flame number 1.
All right, so I'm back. So let's I think I think RJ had a couple comments here. So let's see. Um, Cricket. um, sing some Beatles songs. Get Mike a multi-$1,000.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
To a dream believer, oh, what can it be?
We all live in a yellow submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine.
Anyway,
That reminds me. Unfortunately, the only way you can get this is, I think, by sailing the high seas. Metal sent me a Scooby Doo crypto crossover.
ah,
It
that
was pretty
sounds
good,
interesting.
actually.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Hmm.
I might be able to send it to, or a place to link it to if you want it later.
I'm cool. I'm cool. I don't really collect that kind of stuff. Just I collect everything here.
Yeah.
So
Just, you watch it once and then you delete it.
yeah.
Because it was never released or whatever, or not going to be released. So
Yeah, so let me see. And of course, we were talking about the Western localizers earlier, but yeah, basically, last couple weeks or so, things have been a little quieter. Now as we get close to April, of course, anime will start picking up because the April releases will start coming about. We'll be seeing what new animes or continuation of animes will be coming up in April here. As the winter season is winding down now. Um,
yeah,
but we got a lot of that going on. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what talk about Fun My Comics. Let's see. Hey, RJ, you want to pop in real quick, and then maybe we can get an update on everything going on with Mike Barron situation.
hey Woody.
Woody's here. Have you seen Polythene Pam? No, I haven't.
No, neither have I. uh, I'm gonna step away for a second too, Mike. I
Yeah.
want to grab a quick uh, sip of juice, something to drink. I'll be right back.
Hi, Rick. All right. Only Mike Barron update is that they have named the lawyer in charge, Ron Cole. Yeah, I do remember you talking about that. Polythene Pan. She's so good looking, but she looks like a like a man. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, okay. So then RJ is so are they going to include crowdfunder in that do you know if they're going to have they indicated they're going to include crowdfunder in that lawsuit yet or no? Do you know at least that? No word on if crowdfunder is included. Okay. So that was probably the only other piece I figured might. I know there was some talk that maybe crowdfunder might get linked into that, but Ron Coleman. And I know for those of us who were following the whole Vic Mignogna situation, probably wish that Ron Coleman may have been involved with that one more than Ty Beard. But it is what it is.
I'm back.
Yeah, he's been busy. Well, we know Vic's been busy because he's even though they tried to really just completely eradicate him from the anime scene, they failed in that because he's still doing cons and he's of course running his own anime studio now, his own dub studio with Anime Matsuri. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see any bidding wars come out between Crunchyroll and his thing. So
Yeah, competition is always good.
yeah, we're at an hour and a half now. So unless anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up, I think I'm gonna start winding down. As we all even with just the two of us, we can only do so much, and we've had some pretty good conversations here tonight. So I think I might start
Yeah.
wrapping up a bit here. We'll do this day and this weekend in Needs History, and we'll wrap things up.
Sounds good.
So I want to give people one more chance. If anybody wants to see if they want to ask anything or add anything to the conversation, give people one last chance to do so. If not, we'll just wrap up. So I'm just I'm just gonna give you a couple minutes to see if anybody wants to say anything. Rick, is there anything that maybe you want to add or anything like that? Is there anything that caught your
Nothing
eye
to,
last week in the world of Nietzsche?
not that I can think of at the moment.
Yeah. Just simply just your own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Tex-Mex tonight says metal. I don't know why he says.
Well,
Guess that's what
Tex-Mex
he's.
usually it's a portmanteau of Texas and Mexico. I don't even understand though what maybe he's doing something in that regard.
Yeah, well, it might be food Tex-Mex.
Yeah. All right. As it
Uh,
would seem that the conversation's kind of died down a bit here, we'll probably start to wrap up here. Then All right. So this, of course, we are here on the weekend of the 11th and 12th of March. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look back at this weekend in Nietzsche history. So let me just remind myself of a few things here.
Metal says I just made a taco salad. Yum. Yeah, can you pass some this way?
3, 17, and March 12th. Okay. So without any further ado, let's take a look back at this weekend in Nietzsche history here, or this weekend in Nietzsche history. First off, I'm going to head back 40 years ago yesterday. Nietzsche. Yep. We head back 40 years ago yesterday. As on yesterday's date, back in 1983, Walt Disney Productions released Winnie the Pooh and A Day for Eeyore on yesterday's date back in 1983. Of course, it was a limited release, and then 2 weeks later, it would release with The Sword and the Stone, produced, of course, by Walt Disney Productions as well as Rick Reinhardt. The voice narrated by Laurie Main, with starring the voices of Hal Smith, who many of you might remember as the voice of Santa Claus in a few of the um, Hanna Barbera
Cartoon or
cartoons.
claymations?
Yeah, Ralph Wright. Let's see, Paul Winchell, his most notable role was as Gargamel in Smurfs, 80s Smurf cartoon. Will Ryan, who lent his voice to the G.I. Joe series as Footloose and Rock and Roll. Kim Christensen, Julie McWhirter, the wife of Rick Dees, as well as the voice of Sassette Smurf from the Smurfs, and John Fiedler. So on yesterday's date, 40 years ago, the Walt Disney Productions Winnie the Pooh and A Day for Eeyore premiered had a limited release on that day, 40
Cool.
years ago. 40 years ago.
Eeyore.
Oh, what was that?
I went, Eeyore.
Now, moving back just 10 years ago yesterday, as on 10 years ago yesterday, um, from the Bankers Live Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, WWE held its Raw Super Show event on that night back in 2013, 10 years ago yesterday. Let's see. The main event saw Kane defeat CM Punk in a no disqualification match at 12 minutes exactly. Jack Swagger defeated Sin Cara in a number one contenders match for the Intercontinental title match. Chris Jericho and The Miz fought to a no contest. Randy Orton and Sheamus defeated Team Rhodes Scholars of Cody Rhodes and Damon Sandow. Let's see. And then, see, the New Age Outlaws fought Team Rhodes Scholars to a no contest earlier in the night. Dolph Ziggler defeated, and some of these guys are in like AEW net. It's like,
Yeah. I just want to know, are they ever going to cook this Raw thing? Because usually everything is better cooked.
yeah. Anyways, Rick. Anyway, so that's the stuff that happened on yesterday. Now, looking back to this day in Nietzsche history, of course. Again, going back 40 years ago today, a number of anime films were released from Japan on this day 40 years ago, back in 1983. Three of them came out of Shin-El Animation's house, including Doraemon, Nobita, and the Castle of the Undersea Devil. Ninja Hattori-kun, Nin Nin, Furasato, Daisakusen no Maki, and Parman, the Birdman has arrived. Those three from Shin-El Animation, as well as Crusher Joe from Studio Nui and Chapon Sunrise, and Madhouse's Harmageddon, The Great Battle with Genma. So those 5 films premiered in Japan 40 years ago today.
Cool. Mel says, Rick, don't cook my sushi.
All right. So, anyways, and last but not least, on this date 20 years ago today, the 100th issue of Azrael, Agent of the Bat, went on sale on this date back in 2003. Sold for $2.95, which is 40 pages. The title of the story was Full Cycle, written by Dennis J. O'Neill, art by Sergio Canello. Jack Morelli did lettering, not to be confused with G.I. Joe Jack Morelli, aka Dial Tone. Colored by Rob Rowe and Alex Blayart. So there we go. All right, so there we go with that. Let's see. Oh, my steak, you can just run it through a warm room. All right. Anyways, guys, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. Talked about a couple of things here, so we got some
Yeah,
conversation. Um,
yeah,
let's see. Actually, before I conclude, Rick, you want to do one last kind of do a little outro yourself.
yeah.
Finish up?
Well, I am Rick Piper of Cross Comics. You can find me here on YouTube, Twitter, and Global Comics and Webtoons. Go check them out. And look for me over there on them as Cross Comics. So
All
I
right.
guess that's it.
All right. So all right, and to let everybody know, we'll of course be back here tomorrow night for Niche News. Starting this week, we're probably not going to be using CDR anymore, as their formatting has changed a little bit. So I'm actually going to augment Bounding into Comics on my site by looking some stuff up from Bleeding Fool to let everybody know. So we'll have more articles there. Hopefully we'll have enough to to warrant be able to warrant stuff through their combined efforts. Um, and of course, this Friday, Terry from Mighty Geek Studios will be joining me as we'll be continuing our look at September of 1939 in the in which the comics that went on sale from Centaur Publications. So we'll be reading, of course, from Wonder World Comics and Mystery. No, wait, actually, that's Fox. I'm sorry. Centaur, which of course includes Amazing Man comics, funny pages. We'll be seeing heroes like Speed Centaur, Arrow, Amazing Man himself, of course. So hopefully you guys will catch it over the next few weeks. Of course, Terry will be joining me this Friday from Mighty Geek Studios. Then we'll have Tim Olsen on a week after that on the 24th. RJ then will be back with me on the 31st, and then on the 7th, the metal Tommy McGrath there will be my co-host on the 7th when we finish up. We finish up September 1939, and then Rick will be back here on April the 14th as we start up our coverage of October 1939 with of course DC. So that's the upcoming schedule, guys. So I hope you guys jot all that down. Let's see everybody back here every night that we're on, getting the niche news, getting some comics history, and all that. So with that, I thank you all for being here, and I shall see you tomorrow.
Bye
Bye.
bye.